by the new sheriff in town, being the Inspector General of Police, Japhet Kolme, has it resounded. Now, speaking of matter security, these stories lay the foundation, and the unprecedented rise in criminal activities in Nairobi has not only worried residents, but also taken a trajectory that has forced security agencies to swing into action to try and curb the menace. But even as Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki and the Inspector General of Police talk tough of their intent to tackle crime in the city, just where did the rain start beating us? Could there be more than what meets the eye in this? NTV's Sydney Chazima spoke with security experts just to make sense of the upsurge in crime and now filed this report. Sydney Chazima coming up in a moment, but first, the state of security in the country is one that has got many in panic of what has been termed as a sharp spike in criminal activities that have left victims without their valuables, or worse case scenario, maimed or left for dead. The Interior Ministry has come out guns blazing and talking tough on taking severe action on criminal elements who have turned the nation's capital into quote-unquote a gangster's paradise. Leila Mohammed now reports on the state of crime in the country and has engaged experts to delve into the matter of numbers, crime rates and policing under the new administration.
Tuesday afternoon in Nairobi's downtown area, a suspected mugger is captured under a matatu, his refuge from a gang of irate city residents baying for his blood. This police officer taking him into custody after rescuing him from a near fatality. The rise in criminal cases, as reported both online and on mainstream media, has become subject of conversation in the country about whether civilians have been left to the mercy of the criminal underworld.
But there is also evidence of sensationalization, that there are people even using clips that are not from Kenya to show or to depict insecurity in Kenya.
This line of thought is shared by law enforcers who have released data on trends of crime in urban areas, according to statistics collected from reports received at the police station level.
We need to get the real numbers, and we also need to know what they are going to do about this insecurity. There could be more patrols, because part of policing is interrupting crime.
The challenge is being dealt with. It will be dealt with. I want to assure the people of Nairobi, we will make Nairobi safe.
Senior police commanders who have been in meetings since the beginning of the week to tackle the matter of insecurity have given reports of crime trends in the last 4 months that show a slight decline in criminal acts reported by victims of those close to them. Between August and July, homicide-related cases in Nairobi City was slightly higher than September and October. Sexual assault-related offences reported in the two time frames did not show an increase similar to cases of offences against the person where bodily harm was meted on victims.
Those who have illegal guns and want to return, let them return. He didn't say go and kill people. Yes. Because you can still neutralize the criminals, and the arms are out there.
Robbery cases under which muggings fall reported a slight variation in the two periods, according to police data for Nairobi City County. Break-ins, whether vehicular or at the home, did not show an increase or decline, but stealing cases were reported more in the July-August period than in the last 2 months. Data on drug-related offences and crimes against children have also been tabulated. Kenyans have expressed concern that whilst the numbers rise and fall over time, the never-ending cycle of criminal heavens seasons has to be curbed and the weak link in the criminal justice system identified.
The Office of the Deputy Prosecutor, the AG, we can sit down in a round table and remove some of the bottlenecks that are affecting the flow of justice, the speed of justice.
Legal officers say that while the right to bail is guaranteed under the Constitution, it is not absolute.
What has been happening in Kenya most of the time is that when there's an upsurge in crime, a special unit is created, and then it does a lot of punitive things. But with deeper community policing, with intelligence-led policing, that combination of policing helps communities and police to work together.
The police have also been blamed over the surge in crime, with hush-hush conversations of a disgruntled force, over legal action meted on colleagues, and human resource issues that have been to court and back. In a bid to deal with one major issue, the Inspector General of Police has approved the training of 1,048 graduate police constables to undertake special subordinate officer training beginning November the 18th. 600 regular police officers will report to Kiganjo, 228 APs will study in Embakasi Campus A, and 220 General Service Unit police officers will report to Embakasi Campus B on Friday, the 18th. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
All right, before we hear what Kenyans' views are on the state of security, I'm curious what my panelists make of that statement by the Amnesty International campaign manager. And he said typically what has happened historically when there's a spike in crime is that a special unit is formed, and hence we see, so he alludes that that is how you have units such as SSU come up. What do you make of that comment, Mheshimiwa?
Well, I completely agree with it, because I think the Kenya police system has never had a strategy and a methodology. Even its philosophy has never been to police in a constitutional manner, in a way in which it can reduce and attack the problem of crime through normal policing methods. What they have done in the past is to use coercive force and to eliminate the hardcore criminals through extrajudicial killings. And once that weapon has been taken away from them, it appears they have no clue. They don't know what to do now that they don't have the gun to deal with it. So they really need to turn things around and introduce deterrent strategies. They need to introduce methods in which they can engage with the public, citizen policing, community policing, and only through the ownership of crime and other problems of that kind by the community, with the police working with them in partnership, would you be able to deal with the kind of entrenched crime that we have here in Nairobi. I think they need to completely change their approach to how they deal with criminality, because first of all, they don't deal with the problems on the ground. They don't engage with the community. And when the crime rates go up and there's an outcry, they go on with brute force, with real force to deal with that issue. And that's it. You know, they can look, they don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have Tanzania, a neighbor which is next door, which never uses lethal force in policing. There's a partnership between the police and the community. And the community is the watchdog. The community keeps track of what is happening in their neighborhood. The police cannot be everywhere, every time.
Okay.
The eyes and the ears of the police would be the Kenyan citizen, but the Kenyan citizen is alienated from the police.
All right.
So you are very fearful of our police. And secondly, in the informal settlements of Nairobi, including my constituency, there's no relationship between the police and the community. That really needs to change before we can think of really dealing with crime. We can't deal with the crime as long as the strategy and the methodology and the philosophy of the police is a colonial mentality of saying, hit the criminal, kill the criminal. The criminal becomes an enemy and has to be eliminated. There's no deterrent. Okay. There's no engagement
All right, so community policing. And we'll get deeper into that. I don't want us to exhaust the subject because it's a progressive conversation. I saw Sami Karanja here. He heads the MSME Association of Kenya. Good to see you in studio, as well as Ken Onyango, Boda Boda Association of Kenya. Both of them, while Mheshimiwa was speaking, were nodding. So it appears they're in agreement, but I will get your thoughts on that. We're also joined by a gentleman who is in Mombasa, but is the MCA for Nairobi Central Ward. Several hotspots have been identified by the police, including the CBD, ABC, Wayaki Way, Kangemi, and Thika Road. In fact, there's a video we'll be playing on an incident that occurred along that road. So allow me to also welcome Mwaniki Kwenya. He is in Mombasa currently, but as I mentioned, he is the Nairobi Central Ward MCA. Good to see you. I see you nodding, so you must be in agreement with some of what has already been said on the subject this morning. But before I invite my other panelists to weigh in as well, let's listen into what Kenyans have to say on the subject of insecurity.
Kwa upande wa security hapa Mombasa, hii CBD kuna vijana ambao ni wale machokora. Ndio wanapora watu simu kisha wanakimbilia pale chini, pale ukienda ile pale KRA pale chini. Kuna sehemu wamejenga hizo vitu zao takataka mingi wanaishi hapo. Ambapo kunyang'anya simu huwezi mfuata umshike. Ukimfuata ukienda huko basi mwisho wako.
Akuta mtu amedungwa kisu, aidha ameuawa ama huyu amerepiwa ama kuna amedungwa kisu na amenusurika kifo. Wakati hivi vitu inafanyika, huyo aipoa utamuona, human right utamuona, ni wewe unabeba mzigo kivyako.
Vijana wako idle na ni kukosa kazi. So sisi haja yetu sio kuwachapa, tunaenda kuwaongelesha yule ambao mwenye hata kubali kujirekebisha, ndio hata sisi tutadili nao kama sisi watu ya community.
Katika hapa Bungoma, uhalifu watu wanaiba ng'ombe, wanaiba simu kwa mauniversity, watoto wakitembea kwa njia simu inaenda. Ni uhalifu ambao unaendeshwa, ili hali security agents kama polisi pia wameshindwa kukabili mambo ya uhalifu.
Mimi naona kitu ambacho rais amefanya, hangetoa baadhi ya vitengo ambavyo imesemekana wamekuwa wakichukua watu wakipotea. Ila kitu angefanya, wangepitia mafunzo maalum wajue kukabiliana na wahalifu.
Kwa sababu tumesikia afisa mingi wa mitaa within Eldoret hapa, unasikia manyumba imepomolewa. Sana sana hii watu wa bodaboda ndio sana usiku kazi zao inafaa kabisa ichunguzwe.
All right, those views have come from all of Kenya, but as I mentioned, we're honing in on the capital, that is Nairobi. What are the security challenges that are unique to the capital city? And Sydney Chazima, as I mentioned earlier, filed a special report just for the purposes of our conversation this morning, and he sets the context for us. Here it is.
Sai Nairobi hatuko safe. Because history za mugging sana madem. Target sana.
The alarm bells on the rising insecurity in the city are off, prompting the country's top security apparatus to swing into action.
Those boys who have dared the government and want to tell us that they can take over the city and make it a city of crime, we have also heard you. And therefore we are coming.
Yeyote ambaye anatisha wananchi, anaweka woga kwa wananchi, kutembea na visu, huyo tutamhudumia.
The mushrooming gangs have turned city alleys, streets and underpasses into crime hotspots, mugging, stabbing and maiming innocent Kenyans and getting away with it. But just what has necessitated the upsurge in crime?
Bad times make for bad crime. And this is exactly what we are experiencing right now. It's something that normally happens when the state of the economy of a country is bad.
There are those who hold the opinion that this could be organized crime that has only one objective at the end: to discredit the new government dispensation.
This is not opportunistic crime that is necessarily driven by cost of life. This is what we call organized crime. The pattern of this crime, which essentially emanates, and it is backed with a PR activity of foreign-driven videos. Only one video that I have seen that is from Kenya.
Whilst admitting the existence of the resurgence of crime, IG Koome also claims that social media is awash with mugging videos that could be misleading.
Wanaangalia kule ng'ambo, pahali ni nchi ya watu weusi kama sisi, they cut and paste. Si za hapa, huo ndio ukweli. Kuna watu wako na nia ingine.
The organized crime is essentially supposed to discredit the government of the day.
From my experience, this is sporadic. We cannot say this is organized crime, based on the fact that these are new groups that are emerging. The way I've seen these young men operating, it's not like they're reporting to anybody.
A finger of blame is being pointed at the head of state, William Ruto, for how he has handled the cases touching on extrajudicial killings. In instituting the changes on the police service, the president also ordered a crackdown on the now disbanded Special Service Unit. Pundits argue the manner in which the crackdown was conducted might have dispirited other officers.
This is not how we are supposed to handle security personnel. Definitely something is bound to happen, and you will find that the police now not openly saying that they are on a go slow, but they're not doing what they're supposed to do in fighting crime in the city.
Maofisa wetu wote nchi mzima ni kuhudumia wananchi, hakuna kitu kama goslo. Na yote anadhubutu hayo, si ataenda tu, ataingia kwa shida.
The National Police Service and the Nairobi County leadership have now resorted to setting up the County Policing Authority.
We have agreed on the steps that we will take as a county government, including setting up the County Policing Authority.
Once that authority is operational, that will be a game changer.
Security experts believe community policing should be given an upper hand going forward.
What we are lacking in the fight against crime in Kenya is popular intelligence. So if the government is serious about dealing with what is happening right now, we should find a way of now making the public aware that their security also depends on them.
Sydney Chazima, NTV.
Mwaniki, I'm curious who you agree with following that report by Sydney Chazima. We saw one gentleman say this escalation in crime is caused by the rising cost of living. We saw Ndumbi take the opposite position, saying, who is it who said it was organized crime? I think it was Ndumbi who said it was organized crime. Is this gangland, or is this just spontaneous, in your view?
Good morning.
Go ahead.
My name is Mwaniki Kwenya, and I'm the MCA, the current MCA for CBD, where we have been spotted to be one of the spots where the crime is happening. And I want to do some statement this morning. Whatever we are seeing today could be, and I don't want to dispute what my friend is saying about the cost of living, but in real sense, this is a gang, because that doesn't justify anyone. Because the cost of living is high, or because you have some problems related to crime, or you move to crime so that you can have a living. It's very unfortunate that this morning we are talking about crime in the capital city, where people are waking up very early in the morning to try meet their daily needs. So it's very unfortunate that we are talking about this crime, and we are sure that with the county policing authority and sitting down with the administration, we are going to curb the situation. It is basically what has been happening in the past. We have seen people being snatched their wallets, their bags, their phones. It has been happening. There are some organized gangs who have been moving around town. We had it like a year ago, and it was so in a high gear. The gang was moving around town, looking for people who are moving from the banks, and taking away whatever they had. So today, it could be the social media has escalated the rate at what we are seeing today, but the crime has been there in CBD, not at the rate that the social media is doing it right now. But I think even if the crimes are there, the social media is playing a big role in escalating. So it's an organized gang. We have seen it. We had those people who are doing the Safaricom promotions in town. That's also an organized way of stealing from the people. And so many people have suffered from the CBD, which we have already tackled the situation, and they are no longer in town. We have those people who are doing a lot of evil activities in CBD, taking it that they have been given licenses, but at the moment we are doing all we can to make sure that CBD is clear and clean.
Okay.
And open for people to do their businesses without any struggle.
All right, thank you, Mwaniki. Now, gentlemen, I'm curious whether you agree with him that this county policing authority, will this translate to the community policing strategy that Mheshimiwa has made reference to? Will it encourage the citizenry to be more proactive in the area of security? Ken, I'm curious what you make of that. And Sami, if you could respond. You MSME Association of Kenya, businesses in the CBD. Is it a case of, as he says, social media, has it blown things out of proportion, or has there genuinely been, anecdotally, evidence of an escalation in crime? But I'll start with you, Ken. This community policing authority, and we'll hear from the IG and the governor on this subject. And I can see here that there shall be established, now this is the National Police Service Act, 41(1), there shall be established a county policing authority in respect of each county, which shall comprise the governor or a member of the county executive committee appointed by the governor, who shall be the chairperson, county representatives appointed by the inspector general, who shall comprise the heads of the National Police Service, the National Intelligence Service, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations at the county level, 2 elected members nominated by the county assembly, the chairperson of the county security committee, at least 6 other members appointed by the governor from among the following categories of persons ordinarily resident in the county, that is the business sector, community-based organizations, women, persons with special needs, religious organizations, and the youth. So will this translate to community policing?
You see, this is something, and thank you very much for inviting us to this show. It's very important because we seriously represent a sector that has also been accused of contributing to the surge of crime in the city. That is the border.
Yes.
But our opinion, I mean, has been kind of relating with whatever the police has mentioned there concerning the formation of the county policing authority. I've been of this idea that Oliver, in places where we've experienced a lot of insecurity, like in the northern Kenya, this issue of cattle rustling and wherever, the police have actually come up with the formation of the police reservist, increasing, because in this case, you've realized that one police officer is supposed to offer protection to how many Kenyans? Is it 750? Which means the police cannot be all over the place. The police cannot fight crime on their own. Like in a city like Nairobi, the population of the industry that I represent, we have registered over 76,000 border riders that are in our database. If the police could take advantage of the border sector, apart from just being judged, like you are the people contributing to the surge of crime, what about if you can actually embrace border and also consider some of them to be like a police reservice in the city, so that wherever they are doing their job, because this is something that has been done in other countries. We actually did a benchmarking on whatever border are doing right in a country like Rwanda. And in Rwanda, not all border riders that you see on the road are border riders. Some of them are police officers. And they're also riding within the same sector. They're in the same stage. These are something that used to be done even with the other administration of President Moi. Mtu anachoma mahindi pale nje, you can actually think this person is mtu tu anachoma mahindi, but that person is either working with the intelligence so that they can actually report some of the things that we are seeing happening. Because some of the crime you see, ukiona those things being shown on our television, for sure, there are others which are kind of a bit organized. Because you can't tell me somebody is stealing within the central business district like Upper Moi Avenue. There is another person that has all the time to take the video. And there is another matatu just hapo inajaza watu. And there is nothing that is happening. And the police have told us in this city, this is the city ambayo iko na so many officers ambayo they are operating in plain clothes. It cannot happen. Okay. Unless you tell me that even the police, what they are denying, I think it's also true. The police are saying that they are not on a go slow. I tell you for sure, because many of the police officers are my friends. The way the administration, the new administration has been handling the transition of sending others home and employing others, there is ban of SSU, which is, I think it was a good thing, but the way it was handled, it is completely, and if you ask, security experts are going to tell you this, it was not the right way. You can actually handle changes, but not by condemning officers, and because they fear. So if you send them somewhere, they fear because they don't know how to handle. Because you have a gun, and there other guys also have gun. If the police shoots and kill, because these people are killing people. Like for instance, in my estate, I can tell you, Olive. The other day,
which
criminals
estate is this?
Came, in Kasarani. Criminals came into an estate. They had all 45 minutes terrorizing residents within this very same estate, and the police station is just like less than 500 meters away, and nothing happened. And finally, they just left, and it has been happening every single day. Okay. The only thing that the police need to do is make sure that they also make, and I agree with Mheshimiwa when he was actually mentioning about the issue of police being in constant friendship with the community, so they can actually get information. The idea of the last administration bringing police to live with the wananchi, also in the very same estates, was to improve security. Is it happening?
No, good question.
It's something that we are going to say.
All right. So, Sami, I'd like you to answer that question on, is social media blowing things out of proportion, that the situation is not as critical as we're making it out to be? And Mheshimiwa, think about this. Are we dealing with a deluded police force? Were the actions of this administration when they came into power, their actions as regards the police force, have they contributed to the situation we now find ourselves in? But Sami, first, before actually, there's a video, speaking of social media, that made the rounds, at least found its way into my WhatsApp inbox. And this is of Thika Road, I believe, the Muthaiga underpass. So let's take a look at that and then have Sami respond to the question.
We're right here at Muthaiga underpass, folding right before my eyes, robbery with violence. My goodness. My goodness. He's been arrested. He was robbing people. Thank God the border guys have arrested this one. He's been arrested while robbing Kenyans. I think Kenyans are tired. Finally, the police are back. Finally, they are back.
All right. And then that also raises another question for me, Sam, even as you prepare to answer the question of how do we draw the line between citizen arrest and vigilantism? Because another video that found its way into my inbox on WhatsApp was Kenyans exerting mob justice on a suspect, on two suspected robbers. So where do we draw that line? But first, Sami, perhaps you can respond to these videos that are circulating. Are they making things out to be worse than they really are?
Thank you, Oli, for having me. Well, security is a collective responsibility. When you talk about the social media, and I agree with my colleagues here what they are saying, in terms of community policing, social media is also an integral part of community policing. And I remember initially in the year 2005 or 2003 to 2009, We had NCBDA, Nairobi Central Business District Association, was a very strong association in the CBD. And they had 3 issues that they were tackling in the city. They were tackling lighting, sanitation, and security. And one of the things that they did is that they collaborated with the business community. And they had what we call community policing booths, where there were these containers which were strategically positioned in the CBD, in the city, and also in the peripheries, in the satellite towns of the city, where policemen were deployed. And business people could now collaborate with police officers to be able even to arrest criminals in the CBD and other parts of the country, other parts of the city. And it worked very well. We had police reservists, we had informers, as my colleague is saying here. And because it's a collective responsibility, each and every person has a role to play, from the leaders to the business community. Well, community policing died. It was not very well received even by the government of that time, that regime, and it played a very integral role. We, as a business community, we decided to form an alliance of business people, alliance of businesses, because we are organized as micro, small, medium enterprises. So we are organized in associations. So ours is an umbrella. Now,
Okay.
when we sit in that board, one of the things that we have noted is that when you're talking about policemen, as my colleague is saying, it's like there's a go-slow, because every time you report a crime, let's say, for example, in the CBD, you call, because we have contacts with some senior police officers, we call them, and the response to which they are responding is not the way they used to. So there is something that is not adding up between the relationship, the community, the relation between the community and the business, the police and the business, and the businessmen, and the community itself and the government. So there's a disconnect in that equation. It's not adding up what's happening.
All right. So, Mheshimiwa, again, he's raised the question of, are we looking at a deluded police force? And look at some of the statements. We saw Kithure Kindiki, I believe it was the day before yesterday, when he came out and he told the police, we acknowledge that you take risks. We cannot possibly compensate you equivalent to the risks you take on. So it appeared like he was trying to calm those waters. And these 2 gentlemen have said it appears there is a go-slow. So was that statement by the Interior CS Kithure Kindiki indicative perhaps that there is a problem there? And as you prepare to answer that question, because we need to go on a break. Moniki, you're still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you.
All right. So my question to you is, the gentlemen are talking about citizen arrests. Citizen arrests have come up severally. Even the police, when they're engaging you guys, they talk about citizen arrests. But how do we draw the line between citizen arrests and it now degenerating into vigilantism? All right. So as we take that break and my 2 guests marinate on those 2 questions, an update, because we talked about crimes in which border have been implicated. An update from the DCI, and though some of the videos we've shown are nowhere near as gruesome as some of the others that have been shared, but we can't show them on daytime TV. But one fatality was that of Keegan Githwa. Detectives have arrested 4 suspects in connection with the murder of 24-year-old Keegan Githwa, who was stabbed to death on October the 30th by robbers on a motorcycle in Ridgeways, Kiambu County. The DCI continues to explain the detectives based at DCI Starehe mounted a dawn operation that began at a city toilet along River Road, where they pounced on the first suspect before heading to Githurai, where the rest were arrested and the deceased's smartphone recovered. This is after a detailed analysis of the gang's modus operandi was conducted by sleuths based at the Crime Research and Intelligence Bureau, who have since established that the gang operates from Githurai area. Keegan, who had recently graduated from Strathmore University with a degree in information technology, was killed in cold blood by robbers who stabbed him on the chest as they fled after taking away his mobile phone. An operation to arrest more members of the gang is currently ongoing in Githurai and other parts of the city. The DCI says as detectives, they move with speed to deal with the gangs terrorizing city residents, and they continue to appeal to members of the public to provide information regarding criminal gangs anonymously through our hashtag Fichua Kwa DCI toll-free line 0800 722 203. All right, we take a break. When we come back, the conversation continues.
don't come home with me right now, then I am going to file a case against you for abandonment.
Mrs. Marissa, the garage just called to tell you that your car is already fixed and you can go and pick it up today.
And how could you think of just leaving after the bomb you dropped on me? You are not leaving until this has been cleared up.
Mom!
Well, if I sleep over at your house during the weekend, what do you think of that?
It had to be you.
Did you know you can open a family bank account without having to visit a branch? Simply download PesaPap app from Google Play Store or Apple Store to enjoy freedom and convenience. All you need is your ID card, KRA PIN, and camera phone.
Hey mama, kuja utuambie. Niko na busene, kwanza mama jana nitako hapa. Hapana hayuko, hajafika. Nini mbaya? Nimeingia juzi kwa nyumba ya mama jana. Wakati ya lunch. Hata sikuwa nataka chakula yao. Nini ikafanyika? Kila mtu akatoka kwa meza mbio. Tunakula kwa sahani. Hata waogope tunawaangalia. Hata papa Janet vile ni mpole. Mpole gani? Yeye mwenyewe amebeba sufuria mzima akajificha kwa choo na mchele. Mama jana tunaye akaficha nyama chini ya pilo na supu. Ni uchoyo kiasi gani? Hebu niambie. Papa Janet sio mzuri. Aliniona akinunua chips ya mwitu. Alikibia hata karibu mguu inavunjika.
To get mushene ya chama, dial star 812 star 802 hash. Skiza, non-nation.
The 2022 FIFA World Cup will see the best footballers on the planet do battle. Cristiano Ronaldo has one final shot at glory. A youthful USA are set to surprise. And we salute the World Cup's record-breaking golden oldies. The clock is ticking on the countdown to Qatar.
New Sensodyne Repair and Protect with Deep Repair. It's a huge game changer for me. The science is pretty amazing because it really goes deep inside the tooth and repairs tooth sensitivity. It's going to improve the quality of my life in a big way.
St. Paul's University is committed to quality education through teaching, research and development, providing timely services to foster and develop academic excellence. Our modern infrastructure, ample amenities for extracurricular activities, as well as partnerships with other local and international institutions, give our students a great learning environment. The university welcomes you to our 31st graduation ceremony to be held on Friday, 18th November at our Limuru campus. You can follow live proceedings on NTV from 10 a.m. St. Paul's University, your university of choice.
We know your flavor, and that's how you inspire us to always deliver the best quality meals made fresh with locally sourced ingredients. Galitos, bold African flavor.
Get the Galitos Hot Box and a 500 ml Coke soda at just 699 Kenya shillings.
Na sisi tumesema yeyote ambaye anatisha wananchi, anaweka woga kwa wananchi, kutembea na visu, huyo tutamhudumia. Maofisa wetu kama vile nilisema juzi, tumewafunza kule Kiganjo na college yetu ya Embakasi zote mbili njia ya kutumia bunduki. Imeelezwa vizuri kwa kisheria, kwa sheria, wakati polisi anaruhusiwa kutumia bunduki.
As you perform this gallant, sometimes risky service to the nation, you will not be victimized. A few cases that might arise of unlawful use of weapons will be handled in the normal way. I therefore urge all officers to use the responses that we are commencing within the law. Comply with the standing orders of the police, comply with the law relating to criminal conduct, that is the Penal Code, Cap 63 of the laws of Kenya, the Criminal Procedure Code, Cap 75 of the laws of Kenya, the Evidence Acts, Cap 80 of the laws of Kenya, of course the standing orders of the police, but also comply with the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the applicable international treaties relating to this kind of activity, which is the use of lawful violence to protect the population.
Mheshimiwa, what do you make of those remarks, even as we respond? Because Kithure Kindiki, when he started his statement, he talked about gallant service, even as we respond to the question of a deluded police force. Perhaps you can also weigh in on the directives they've been given, police have been given with regard to the discharge of their firearms. You hear statements such as, daring the government, we have had you, you know, and even the Nairobi governor saying, vijana, you know, like, this is your last warning. Otherwise, what befalls you we will not be held responsible for it. What do you make of that kind of tone?
Well, first of all, I'm encouraged that our Minister of Interior and Security is a professor of law, someone who I'm sure would respect our Constitution, our rules and laws, and therefore I feel that now the police have got a very good oversight person and a boss who would be very careful about that. And I think it is important to see that we need changes in our in how our police does its work, in the sense that every citizen concern is safety and security. We are all allies of the police. But from what is happening, the police has failed in that responsibility. The police now is in the public's court, the public tribunal. They have been judged by the public. And what is lacking here is a police force that is not constantly using disproportionate force in dealing with the issues of crime. Lethal force, the gun. The gun is, many societies are managed without disproportionate use of force by the police. We want equal justice. We want to build a trust between the police and the public so that, in fact, the work of fighting crime and controlling crime becomes the work of every citizen. And that requires a major change in the mindset of our police force. It simply doesn't mean that you have to carry a gun and shoot someone. You need to develop, as I said earlier, strategies and methods that would be able to change the way we work with the police. After all, not every Kenyan or every Nairobian is a criminal. 99% of the people of Nairobi are law-abiding, peaceful citizens. It's a very small percentage. Now, how do you isolate that percentage? The police knows who these criminals are. They interact with them. Some members of the police are partners in crime, as we have had. So the police really needs to change its way of doing things. The way I can hear, and I now have a lot of respect for the new Inspector General of Police. He's someone I know, a career dedicated police officer. They just need to switch that mindset a little bit from the use of force to engaging with the public, discussing with the Kenyan society how to deal with those in Nairobi, and eliminating and isolating the few people who are making our life difficult. But if the police overstretch it itself, they start profiling whole communities, whole neighborhoods. They start using the gun again to eliminate and carry out extrajudicial killings. Then obviously they're going to lose the game, as they have done. What the current government has done, and I want to compliment the president, he has pulled the police back from that illegality and lawfulness and said, look guys, review the way you do things. We're not going to do the way the way you were doing before. And instead of finding ways of how to do that, they have simply vacated the space for criminal elements. And that's why we're seeing a high number of, in terms of reporting, rising crime cases. The key element here is to switch from the previous mode and into a new mode, which would be engaging with the public, creating trust, developing strategies with the local populations, focusing on where the problems are rather than spreading themselves all over and profiling huge communities, and dealing with many of these problems through constitutional means. Take the criminals to court, lock them up, increase the penalties, take them off the streets. But you cannot use the gun to eliminate every gang that comes up. In other words, you would be operating unlawfully and in a criminal way, just as the criminal elements are operating. So we need a change. The second element is to reinforce our county police capabilities. Nairobi has had a dysfunctional county government all these years. Our city is in chaos. There's no policing, there's no planning. The law of the jungle operates here, or the rule of the jungle, as some people may say. Now we have a sensible governor who is thinking rationally about these things and who has some great ideas about how to deal with the police, how to deal with the crime issue in our city, our planning issues and so on. So we have an opportunity also to fix how the county government deals with the issue of crime in the city, because that is also an important part of their mandate. And I think here, with a new IG, new minister who is actually a constitutional person, a new governor, we have an opportunity to start afresh and start doing things the right way. Right. But equity, justice, respect for our constitution must be the number one priority of our law enforcement and our criminal justice system. You know, when you alluded to Kanjo, I saw Ken was about to jump out of his skin, and perhaps it has to do with the reputation for being extortionists. But we'll come to you, Ken. First, Mwaniki. Mwaniki, first of all, if you could clarify two things. You appear to have caused some jitters when you made reference to Safaricom. But as I understood your statement, you were talking about these frauds, these people who pretend to be either from Safaricom or a bank to gain your personal information and thereby gain access, for example, to your mobile monies or your mobile wallet. Did I understand you correctly that you were not making reference to Safaricom as an entity, but to those frauds that use the names of such organizations? And secondly, perhaps you could also weigh in on this question of a deluded police force, because if you listen to some Kenyans, they say President William Ruto and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua essentially made the police, and forgive this crass language this early in the morning, but effectively made the police impotent by cracking down on the use of firearms. What are your thoughts?
When I was talking about Safaricom, I was talking about this organized group that pretend to be doing some promotions in the CBD. Lafrey on the Ambassador area, Koja roundabout, and somewhere in Ludhuri Avenue, where they pretend to be doing some promotion for Safaricom, but they get to your wallet or your phone and get to remove all your money. That's the cartel that have been there for some time, and they have been calling a lot of people in CBD. We also have the guys who keep on moving allowed CBD, asking for money, and also, some of them are also doing this we call the cards games and stealing from the public. These are the people I was talking about. Actually, the police force in CBD, because I've been relating with them, they are in power. They are doing their work correctively. I don't think whatever has been happening is basically to demean their operations, because I have dealt with them and I have seen them the way they operate. I have been interacting with them during the day, during the night. But the way CBD, personally I want to talk about CBD, the way it is, because we have come from the from the campaign period, and people tend to think that from that campaign period, people are now hungry for money, and they are taking advantage of the way the government is taking its shape, and they can get a loophole of disturbing the community. There are a few things I would like to talk about the CBD and the way we need to do things, because we have so many sectors operating at the same time. We have the matatu, we have the hawkers, we have the trolley guys, we have all kind of businesses going on in CBD. And the congestion that is there, the motorbike guys who are also doing a lot of good work in the CBD, but we need to have order and sanity in the CBD so that even the police can have an easy way of doing their operations in the CBD. So maybe if a given time, I don't know whether this is my time, when I can say some of the things that we need to do in the CBD so that we can curb the insecurity that is in CBD. If you allow me, I can maybe highlight some of the things I need to be done so that we can curb the situation.
Go ahead, Monique.
Am I allowed?
Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Number one issue is to make sure that every person that is operating in CBD are in a particular organized groups. Like if we talk about the border operators, I know they are already, Ken is their leader, and they are in an organized group, but they need also to be identified. They need to have cards, they need to have numbers, where the police can identify them with the society or with the sector they are operating or the circle they are all in. And number two, we have the every sector. Let's say the Beba guys, the Mkokoteni guys, the hawkers. We need to identify these people so that we can be able to remove all the idlers in CBD. And actually, I'm calling upon the government, the national government and the county government, to also do something with the high licensing number of street families. The street families are on high level. We have a very big number of guys moving around town asking for money. And also this one, the street families, when they grow in the CBD, at a particular age they do not get anything to do. They turn up to be the criminal operators in the CBD. So that one is a very big alert that we need to curb. And also we have the black spots, the identified areas where the security, the insecurity is being done. We have the back streets, which together with the governor, we have identified them, we have cleaned them, and we are in a very near future, we are going to give the hawkers to operate from that areas so that the frontage of the shops can be clear and clean. And also we are asking, number three, we are asking all the owners of the buildings to do the CCTV cameras and also do lighting of their buildings from all directions so that the police can retrieve any criminals that could be happening in the CBD. We have also the arrangement of the matatus and the hawkers. You see the congestion that is there, the disorder that is there in CBD, you cannot be able to identify who is doing what. So these are some of the measures we want to take, even stationing our border guys and even training them to use the roads and doing their operations in an orderly way, whereby if you look at them, they use the roads anyhowly. They move from every direction. So if we have a disciplined workers or the traders in the CBD, then the police will have an easier way of curbing the insecurity that is in town. The rest we will continue as we continue with the show. We continue highlighting some of the things that need to be done so that we can bring down the rate of insecurity in town. Thank you.
All right, Ken,
there's something that Mheshimiwa just mentioned there, which I think if you actually retrieve back and just look at ourselves during campaigns. And this is something that I think every Mheshimiwa will agree with me. Most of our youths that you see outside there, these criminal elements that all of us are talking about, the police is talking about it, Mheshimiwa is talking about, the business community is talking about it, most of our youths are normally used during campaigns to offer security. And every Mheshimiwa says, mimi niko na jeshi yangu that are offering security. And the moment the security offers their job, wanafanya kila kitu, and the Mheshimiwa now gets into office, now the very same security, sasa wanaitwa wezi. And I think it has reached a point where many of these guys are like kind of retaliating because they are actually getting tired. Wanaambiwa, like for instance, we just came from the campaigns the other day, and the slogan ambayo, hii serikali tunatengeneza pamoja na nyinyi. Hii ni serikali yenu. And the moment people get into office, wale watu, there's very same youths that were actually promised to be given jobs and opportunities, you are not seeing their names being mentioned anywhere. In fact, even the smaller jobs that they were doing, the bigger elephant in the society, the bigger elephant in the room that we need to address is the issue of unemployment. Because, Olive, I want just to ask you, and I know this is a debate that hatutamaliza leo. When we were actually mentioning the people that are getting opportunities in this government, because I'm yet to see where this administration is going to fix Mama Mboga, Boda Bodas, and wherever, so that we can also feel this government belongs to us. So that the society does not feel like we are being shortchanged, only waiting for another 5 years to be promised other things which are not happening. The police are actually targeting, like for instance, border operators, and they're saying the border operators are not really following the law and all that. But there's something that we have done, and Mheshimiwa MCA for CBD will totally agree. Most of the areas, and I will also give this one to His Excellency the Governor. You just saw the other day on Sunday saying, Vijana, this is the time bwana mnafaa kusikia, because now we are not joking. He knows them. Anawajua. All these people that are causing crime here and there, every Mheshimiwa anawajua. The only thing now they need ni kukua planned. Like for the side ya bodaboda vile umepatia MCA opportunity to say the plans that they have for the CBD. We have sat down with His Excellency the Governor. He has formed a task force that has embraced boda so that we can actually come up with a raft of measures to address runaway crime, doing things the way most of the boda operators wanaona they on the wrong side, wanabeba watu wawili watatu and all that. We have given them, most of the boda operators in this town, we've given them identity cards. Identity cards that, like the one I just came with to the show.
You can show us.
Most of them have these identity cards. They hang it around their neck, so that they can be, it's very easy to identify. Like this one is one of the circles in the CBD. It's called the Eminent Boda Circle, and we have so many of other circles. Apart from just belonging to a circle, because you need to be identified to a particular circle. Number two, we've given them plates. Apart from the number plates, these plates that you have given to boda riders are plates that are being put just adjacent to the normal number plates. That plate has a QR code, like the way this one also has a QR code. The information for the holder of this ID, all of them are here, including the stage where they operate from, including their next of kin. If a boda operator today gets involved in an accident or a crime, the only thing a member of the public need to do is to immediately scan that. If you happen to have impounded that motorbike, you just need to scan that plate, and it will give you the entire information of that rider, including the next of kin, like the wife and the state chairman and everything. What the governor has done right now, and we are actually moving the other yesterday. In fact, yesterday we were moving with the team from the engineers department from the county, moving around town and trying to now officially locate areas of operation for boda riders, because even the stages most of them are operating in this town are not officially known to the county. So you cannot really, like today, hold on to Ken and say, This stage was given to you, and somebody was actually marked in this place yesterday by border riders. That thing is what the governor is doing. There's another issue of color coding, because he has divided Nairobi County into 5 barons. Now, the central business district, which happens to fall under Starehe, will be coded with one color, which is green in color. So that it's very easy to identify border riders that are operating within CBD, and even those ones that are coming from out of town and coming to the CBD. It's very easy because the governor is trying to create areas where it will be pick up and drop off points. Those are coming from outside, and they also have a different color. Like, for instance, those are coming from maybe Kamukunji will be given a yellow color. I don't know. Whatever color we are going to agree. It will be very easy to identify that one is coming from Kamukunji, or this one are coming from this particular place. The last, the other thing is the issue of reflectors. Many of the border operators have been used like mobile billboards. Anyone that want to advertise their product, they give border riders reflectors of every kind. And others are even, and Waheshimiwas have used us so much on this line. We've been putting on their jackets and advertising them all over the place. The only thing that we are doing right now, we want them, their circles. The reflectors they are going to be putting are reflectors belonging to their circles, which are also having numbers. Like you see this ID as a number. There is no any rider who has a number 7. Now, once we give them the color, and we give them the number, and we give them the reflectors, and their stage are known, and their areas of operation have been mapped and have been gazetted, and they are now operating within the circles, that is even the time they are going also to benefit from this ASLA fund within their circles, so that it can empower them. We need to empower the youths of this country so that we totally remove them from crime. There is nobody that was actually born to be a criminal. And we are, off the show, we are actually having a discussion with Mheshimiwa here. And Mheshimiwa was saying the elements of who are actually committing crime in this country is actually a very small percentage. If you say, like, for instance, they're only 1% or 2%, then the entire population are doing the right thing. You want to tell me we cannot eliminate this kind of...
Which you said even on air.
Yes.
You know, when you were talking about Mheshimiwa, you've referred to Mheshimiwa twice. So I was wondering which one. Because we have two. We have two, one in Mombasa, one in
Mheshimiwa MP for Kamukunji.
Although earlier you did reference that.
He's actually doing also a good job in a Kamukunji, I'm telling you the truth.
In Mombasa.
And that's why he has always got an opportunity to be re-elected a number of times.
Okay.
Sure.
But Sami, you have the ear of two Mheshimiwas.
Yes.
One sits in the National Assembly, the other sits in the County Assembly. As businesses, as Nairobi entrepreneurs, what would you like to, what would you exhort them to do for you on the floor of the houses, of their respective houses?
And I'm very happy with Mheshimiwa Kwenya because, one, he's a very good friend of mine, and also we vied in 2017 together. You see, policies that are supposed to be made to safeguard businesses, they should be taken to the floor of both houses. And the disconnect which has been there is that you have seen Mheshimiwas going to the floor with policies which are not in touch with the common mwananchi or even the business people. They make policies, and even that's an issue with the government agencies. They make policies in our absentia. So there's no, we are not the integral part. We are not put in that integral process to make sure that they have heard our voices. And we have been advocating with the government and also Waheshimiwas and government agencies so that we can have representation, like what Ken is saying. So when you're making policies with boda, the boda leadership must have a seat in their decision-making table. If they don't have that seat, who is going to speak on their behalf? Because most of the people who are making those policies, they are not even in the boda sector. They are not even in the business sector. And with no offense, some of the Waheshimiwas, you find that they are not even business people. They have never even operated a kiosk. So a person is probably from the corporate world, and probably they get their way into politics. So when you are making policies that govern small, medium enterprises, you are making policies in absentia with the reality on the ground. And that's why the implementation of those policies, many times they hit rock bottom. They cannot be able to be implemented very well. And so that integral part of it, making sure that those policies they sit down with the stakeholders, and the stakeholders have representation in different boards. We even advocated with the current regime, and the president himself, we had a meeting with him and told him, if you go to like ministries of trade, ministries or agencies of government which have been mandated by the government to make sure that micro, small, medium enterprises are hard. And because now it is the darling to this government, is the darling to this regime, they should hear our voices. Another thing, Olive, is that we must be able to formalize the informal sector. And I think kudos to Kenya and also to Ken here, and also even what Mheshimiwa is doing on the ground. We must know who is doing what and where. So that even when you're talking about increasing the tax base, we can know who is going to increase that, who is going to pay that tax. Because many times you find that some of the businesses or our business community, we are carrying the heavy load of paying taxes. And so increasing that tax base means that you have data. You have data of who is doing what and where. Like, for example, what Ken they are doing, it's very impressive. They exactly know Ken is operating in this stage. The chairperson of that stage is this person. This is the next of kin. And the other question is, are they paying taxes? Because I am operating the CBD with a boda. Okay, I'm paying the county government probably 50 shillings. How can we be able to integrate now after we formalize the informal sector? How can we be able now to integrate that already formalized informal sector into payment of taxes? And when you look at that, you're going to bring many people on board. The issue of insecurity is also the issue of hunger, when people don't have anything to do. And that is why opportunities must be created. Bodas must not be victimized. The hawkers and the street vendors must not be victimized. Even those people who are selling on the streets, probably in Haile Selassie, you find that those guys have already organized themselves. And I remember there are some guys, when I was driving along Haile Selassie, you find a person with a badge, and they are coming. You can identify, this is the name. This is Kamau, he's operating up in this place. So when we are able to formalize the informal sector, we know who is where, so that in case of any invasion of that sector, any person coming from outside to propose or to say that they are operating in that sector, they can be arrested. Lastly but not least, Olive, let me say this. We must also appreciate what the government agencies are doing. And one of the things which probably, and I'm doing that with all humility to correct the government, is that any time probably there is what we call the extrajudicial killings, like what Mheshimiwa was saying, some things are not supposed to be publicly, professed or said by very senior people in the government. And the reason why is that they give identity to those government agencies. And every time the government agencies feel that they don't have a covering from the executive, sometimes they may fear even stepping out, because there's a very thin line between killing a criminal and human justice. A very thin line. So when do you shoot? So a person has a knife, has stabbed the other person. They don't have a gun. So do you shoot that person? So there's a very thin line. And so they are supposed to be a sitting with the government agencies and the business community and all the stakeholders together and create, as Mheshimiwa was saying, create a conducive environment. We are all brothers and sisters, and Kenya is ours. Make sure that I'm comfortable going to Central Police Station and to the OCPD's office and opening up and saying there's an issue in that area without first being victimized, or without even secondly being told, we are not going to report to IPOA. So I think there has to be that truth that it has to be reached by the government, and the government is playing a very integral role to make sure that the government agencies work comfortably.
All right. My earring popped out while you were executing your point. But speaking of agencies and what they can and should not say, government agencies, I was looking through, when you were speaking, I was looking through the Twitter notifications, and Mheshimiwa, I'll come to you because there's still that question which has been left unanswered. The question of what's the line between citizen arrest, because citizens have been saying, if you're not going to handle this problem, we're going to handle it ourselves. What's the line between citizen arrest and vigilantism, and also in the question of use of firearms, as has been posed by Sami. But there's a gentleman here, and I see this is Daniel Kombe, and let's see what he was responding to this. You cannot use the gun to eliminate, and this is a statement you made, that you cannot use the gun to eliminate every gang that comes up. Take the criminals to court, increase the penalties. That is what you said. But Daniel Kombe here is of the view, as long as they kill, they're supposed to be killed too. So this is an attitude that is out there. And if I can just also look at some of the other notifications from people watching the show. And there's something you said, Ken, and that was on the question of leadership. Let me see if I can trace it here, because I saw somebody liked the comment here. And this is James Munyasia. And he's responding to your statement that the way the new administration handled the police transition was not the right way. You can handle changes without condemning officers. And then so this James Munyasia says, I agree, leadership was not exercised. But Mheshimiwa, perhaps you can come in at this point.
Well, first of all, let me say our police force, we're a democracy. We're a constitutional democracy. We have rules and regulations. We have laws. We have a judiciary system. And the police is an independent force which is guided by that constitution and laws of that country. The moment the police starts killing people just because they're suspected to be criminals, then we have lost the plot. It means that we're getting into the law of the jungle, in which our country is not going to be managed and crime is not going to be controlled by our laws. And there's going to be a lot of miscarriage of justice. And in fact, if you look at 99% of the young people who've been killed in Nairobi through extrajudicial killings, many of them are innocent. They are petty criminals. They have mugged someone somewhere. They are pickpockets somewhere. They have not committed a crime proportionate to the punishment that is meted out. And this decision is made by one police officer. So I'm glad now that, in fact, that debate is now on the table. And to a certain extent, we have we agree that our police force should be run through our laws. And that's why, then, our police force needs to switch from using brute force to deal with criminals to a constitutional, equitable, just method in which they're not going to target or profile particular communities or particular groups. They are going to use strategies and methodologies that have worked in the rest of the world to deal with crime and to build the trust that they need to build with the community. Because you cannot deal with the law enforcement and criminal justice issue without public support. You know, it is this public that would be looking after their neighborhoods, after their homes, and so on. So now we have two communities. We have a wealthy, rich community that has built walls, that is putting electrical fencing, have security guards. Some of them are heavily armed, protecting their homes. And then we have neighborhoods like mine in Kamkunji in the Eastlands, which were left to the elements. Either you become a victim of criminal gangs, and that's your problem, or the police come in and execute anybody who is accused of being a criminal. I mean, we have a different, there are different ways of doing it. Those are not the only ways of dealing with criminal problems. And I think for those who are advocating for disproportional use of force, brute force of killing people, they are mistaken, because they're giving that power to a police officer who is not probably the right person to judge whether that person is a criminal or not. Of course, there are situations where the police come on the stage, on the scene of a crime. And of course, they're allowed by our legislation to deal with that particular situation as the circumstances determines. Very special circumstances. But 99% of the extrajudicial killings are planned intentionally. They are premeditated. You plan to go and execute that person because of what you think that person is doing. It's not as if you've been caught in the act, as it were, and the police had to make use of whatever necessary force was required to deal with that particular situation. And they have that power, and they have they have the laws and the regulations to guide them in that sense. But in the last 10 years, we've had a police regime which has been allowed to do those things intentionally by the political establishment in office. And that's what we are rejecting now. What we're saying is that the police should come back, review how they work, work around and the issues of crime, because their main function is crime control. And we have said that what they have been doing is unconstitutional. If they do it, they break the law. They must look at lawful ways of policing, and they must respect human rights. That's what we're saying. The second element that I've had here is that a lot of the laws or the legislations that are passed are done without public engagement. And I wanted to say that we are one of the few countries in the world where public participation is a constitutional requirement. It is enshrined in our laws. And there is no law or legislation or regulation that can be passed and enforced without public participation. So here I think there's a problem. It's not so much with the legislators. It is to do with the public knowledge, civic education, is that you must know that there can be no road built in your neighborhood unless you participate. There can be no development in your neighborhood unless you're a participant. There is no legislation that can become a law without your participation. It is just one way of conscientizing and raising the awareness of our public to engage with these legislations and laws that are coming into force.
Okay.
So I think the bottom line is that we are a constitutional country. We have strong laws. The police should act within the law. The police should respect human rights. We should have equity and justice in our police force. And the police force is independent. They don't have to be guided by the noises that are made by the political class. Just because some politician, maybe a deputy president or a minister or a member of parliament is making noises out there, doesn't mean that they have to change or agree with those. They should just follow their standing orders, our laws and regulations, and we'll be fine. And they're independent.
Okay. And Mwaniki,
so they must enforce their constitutional mandate equitably and fairly through using our constitution.
All right. And just a few responses to the statements you've made this morning, Mheshimiwa Kamkunji, you know, I have to be very specific this morning. But also, Mwaniki, think on this as I look at these Twitter responses. Given Mheshimiwa Hassan here spoke about independence of police, which the executive has sought to foster, or rather the office of the president has sought to foster by giving the police their own budget, making the Inspector General of Police an accounting officer. Does it put the Interior CS now, Kithure Kindiki, on unsure footing, right? I mean, does he seem like a man who's not quite sure how far his reach extends? So just think on that question. But on the issue of coercive force, Mikidi, responding to you here when you spoke about you cannot use gangs to eliminate every gang that comes up, take the criminals to court, increase the penalties. He says sometimes you take the bull by the horns. And perhaps this sentiment, because Kenyans, you know, we say when you're tired, it is tired with a T-A-Y-A-D. Kenyans are tired of this insecurity. And perhaps these sentiments are informed by stories such as this. This is Soko Analyst, and I do warn you that this picture, if images tend to disturb you, you might want to look away just for a moment. But this lady was attacked yesterday morning, he says, at 11 a.m. on her way to University of Nairobi. Just because she was carrying a laptop, these attacks are getting out of control. Where is DCI, Kenya, Interior? And there are slashes. They've protected her face, but there's slashes to her face, and I'm not verifying this image. I'm just saying this is one of the images that has been circulating on social media. So when you see this kind of brutality, can you understand that frustration that perhaps these criminals need to be dealt with a firmer hand? And Mheshimiwa, I'll have you respond to that. But first, Mwaniki, what do you make of the interplay between the Office of Interior, Ministry of Interior, and the police service? Is part of this problem the fact that now not everybody is quite sure where their boundaries reach?
I think it's very clear when the president gave them a date to the CSs when they were being sworn in, and I remember the president telling them that they have the independence of dealing with their ministries, and I don't see anywhere the president or any other person should interfere with the services we are expecting from the CSs. So the CS has the independence of running the ministry, and together with the police force, they're able to sit down, deliberate on issues that are affecting Kenyans, and actually be able to do what they're supposed to do for the good of the society. I think the main issue and the main agenda is to bring a conducive atmosphere, as it has been said, for the Kenyans to do their operations and their businesses the way they're supposed to be done. And I don't see where any CS who knows what he is doing should be disrupted by any remarks that are made by either the president, the deputy president, or anyone else from the political arena, and this should not interfere with their operations. So everybody has their own independence of maybe commenting whatever they want to comment, but this should not interfere with their operations.
All right, Mwaniki, we need to take a break, but when we come back, I'll also...
Olive, allow me to say this.
Okay, finish your point.
We are looking at what could help us maybe have a clear way of doing things and operations that will be effective. And I'm looking at setting up, we are coming up with a system whereby we'll be able to capture each and every person who is operating in CBD. We have a system that is in another way, whereby all the hawkers, all the traders, all the owners of the plots and the buildings will be captured in the system, and we'll be able to have the information for every individual who comes in town. With that, the police and the administration will be able to have the information for every operating person in the CBD, and it will be very easy to know visitors, those gangs that will be trying to operate in the CBD, and be able to cap the situation as it is at the moment. So we have so many things that we need to do. We also need to bring the chief. Hello? Can you hear me? Olive.
Mwaniki, let's put a pin in that, the chief, and then we'll come back for you to finish your point. We take a break. When we come back, we continue with this conversation. Personnel changes. A number of senior police officers have been reassigned roles in changes announced by the IG. The Kamkunji MP says we have been employing the same strategies since time immemorial. Is it time we shook this up? And speaking of shake-ups, the front page of the Daily Nation talks about security shake-up as crime soars. Are these moves, will it make a difference, Mweshimiya, when we come back on the other side? We take a break. Mwaniki, let's work it out such that you're able to hear me as well.
Are investing in the next generation of tech dreamers. Together, we harness the power of innovation. The Family Group Foundation is the anchor sustainability body for the Family Bank Group.
Learn in a minute, brought to you by Nivea Lumina 630 Anti-Dark Mark Serum.
Dark marks on my face? What causes them? Yet I've tried everything. Hello, my name is Emma, and this is Learn in a Minute. Dark marks are caused by different factors such as sun exposure, skin inflammation, for example, acne breakout, aging, or hormonal imbalance, leading to melanin imbalance and appearance of dark marks on the face. Let's start with dark marks from hormonal imbalance. It mostly affects us ladies and can be in the form of hyperpigmentation during pregnancy, where a lady's skin complexion completely changes. But panic not. Solution iko. You need a serum that regulates this hyperpigmentation and also prevents any reappearance. I'm thinking Nivea Luminous 630 Anti-Dark Marks. It starts working from day 1 with visible results in just 2 weeks. My name is Emma, and this is Learn in a Minute.
Learn in a Minute, brought to you by Nivea Lumina 630 Anti-Dark Mark Serum.
Nivea Lumina 630 works from day 1 with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using the #1 Lumina 630 from Nivea.
Who is a man and what defines a man?
Strong and sacrificing.
Passionate and purposeful.
Industrious and independent.
A leader and a lover.
Ambitious and adventurous.
Provider and protector.
But wait, what of the weak and wounded?
And what beats down and bothers the brothers?
What are the real feelings of the fellas?
Well, whatever season you're in, we welcome you to The Man Cave. What beats a Saturday afternoon with the boys, sharing experiences, networking, socializing, digging into good food, grooving to great music by DJ Jom Falme and Hype God, and learning from inspirational presentations by an eminent panel of men? From wealth to health, retirement, authentic relationships, coping with midlife crisis, or just re-examining your role as a man. Come to this gathering of men, The Man Cave. Saturday, 26th November, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Summer House, Karen. Grab your tickets at 2,500 shillings from Kenya Buzz.
The Man Cave. Be there.
We know your flavor, and that's how you inspire us to always deliver the best quality meals made fresh with locally sourced ingredients. Galitos. Bold African flavor.
Get the Galitos Hot Box and a 500 ml Coke soda at just 699 Kenya shillings.
It is going to make the Nairobi City County Policing Authority operational soon as possible. This is anchored in law, is in the National Police Service Act, and we feel as a service that will be a game changer. Once that authority is operational, that will be a game changer in terms of policing.
All right, Mheshimiwa Fokamkunji, just think, weigh that as well as even as you consider these changes to the top echelons of the police service. I think during the break you termed it musical chairs. And well, does this type of action make a difference? But Mwaniki, I believe you can hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I cut you short on the point for chiefs. If you can wrap it up quickly so that the other panelists also get an occasion to respond.
Some of the issues that we have in CBD should not be dealt with by the police. We have an issue of our chief having his office in Gara instead of having an office in CBD. We need in a agency, we need a chief in CBD where he can be dealing with minor issues that are so that we can prevent our business people from always going to Central Police and Kamukunji Police Station. Some of the issues can be dealt with by the police, by the chief, and the police can deal with the main issues of criminals. Number two, we also have the task force that is going to be the Nairobi County Policing
County Policing Authority
can also be given a better offer in terms of motivation, because the work they do is a bit serious than other places. So I would suggest that these police that are operating within the CBD and the Nairobi city can also have a good offer, maybe in terms of payment, so that we can take care of them and reduce the issues of them getting money from the traders and going to the shops asking for money. They can actually concentrate on dealing with the criminals instead of getting money from the traders from the CBD. I have seen it happening. They go to the bars, the liquor shops, getting money from those people, from the operators. And instead of doing that, maybe we can have an operation or a team that can get a better pay, because the conditions they are working on are a bit busy and are very serious because of the congestion that is in town. So maybe the police can think of having a separate pay and a good offer, a motivation kind of pay for the police that are operating in the city. Thank you.
All right, and we'll get into police welfare with you, Kennedy, because you were very vocal during the break on the recruitment of police, so I'll give you occasion for that. But Mheshimiwa Yusuf, you seem to have ignited a fire on Twitter. I see here Bernard Kimeli says, Honorable Yusuf is living in China or what? Ask Major Retired Ali how he solved mugging when he was IG. Hit squads is a must. And I'm reading this not to endorse these messages, but also to give you a sense of the attitude, because you talked about mind shifts. Now, if the people themselves are endorsing hit squads, what does that mean for us as a community? And I saw another gentleman here asking, first, and this is Kinywa Njue, who's asking you, first, how do you arrest them and they are armed? I'll give you occasion to respond to that, even as we respond to the command structure changes that were announced yesterday.
Well, first of all, let me say I'm completely opposed to giving our police force a blank check to execute people, to kill whoever they suspect of criminal activities. We are a modern democracy. We have a constitution. We have a law. Extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances present a grave affront to the constitution and the administration of justice in our country. They are criminal activities on their own, although they have been done by police in the officers in uniform. Killing a person who has not gone through due process of the law is a criminal act by itself. What these people are confusing, and I speak as a victim of violent extremism. I was blown up in a bomb in which 8 people were killed, and I suffer the consequences of that every day. But I do not believe that the people who perpetrated this crime upon me should have just been eliminated and disappear without due process. Otherwise, we would be perpetuating the law and the rule of the jungle. We cannot go that way. There are many, and people are confusing here. There are standing orders. There are rules that allow the police to act in particular ways to maintain law and order, law enforcement. But if you look at extrajudicial killings, 99% of the extrajudicial killings are planned and deliberately ordered by the authorities on people who have not been caught on the act. It is like you suspect a lot of the young people who were killed in my neighborhood were not caught in the act. they were taken out of their homes and executed by a police officer. They could easily have been brought. We have a judicial system. We have laws and magistrates. Use that process. Don't give an individual policeman the authority to kill whoever they want. If there is a situation that determines the use of force, there are standing orders and regulations. And that is what is allowed as far as the police are concerned. I'm not saying that if the police are confronted with an armed gang that is shooting back, they should run away. They should confront them. And the law allows that. But we are talking here of a runaway process which was unconstitutional, unlawful, and there was even a special unit that was created by the political establishment to carry that out, which is obviously unconstitutional. And think about it. If you allow that kind of behavior on the part of our police, you could be the victim the next time. This guy who is writing this now does not know what it means allowing the police to kill whomever they want. They can kill you in the streets and say you are armed and dangerous. So that's why we have a constitution, we have a law. The police must respect human rights and must abide by the law. And they should not start scapegoating by saying because they're not allowed to use lethal force to deal with every situation, they cannot do their job and therefore they are on a go slow. That means they are failing in their responsibilities. And on the issue of the musical chairs, is that yes, I'm now very happy, by the way, to know that the Inspector General has appointed Adamson Bungei as the head of the Nairobi Police. He was the chief of police in my neighborhood, and he is a fantastic police officer who maintained law and order in a very good way. And I think Nairobi is going to get better with officers like that working with our governor. But there are many ways of dealing with the rising crime in our city through community engagement, through creating trust, developing relationship with the community, allowing the community to own their problems and become the watchdogs, and working with the police. But we need a major change in the attitude of the police and how they do things. The other element that we have not mentioned here before we go to recruitment is also the widespread corruption in the police force. This is another element that is criminalizing some sections of the police to work with criminal gangs. There are a lot of stories by well-established and respectable journalists of the police hiring their guns for criminal activities. Of course, all those things need to be dealt with as you need to deal with the problem of crime in our capital city, in our country, in a holistic way, not bits by bit, not by changing officials from here to there, moving people around, and so on. You need to look at, to have a more focused look, more focused policing, deterrent and prevention activities. There are many other strategies that you can bring on to deal with our crime problems, and using disproportionate force is just one element of it. It's one factor. We should look at the whole problem in a holistic way and deal with them with comprehensive solutions.
Sure. Right. So I want to invite these gentlemen, because I can see time is getting away from me. But in 2 minutes each, your last comments, even as you speak about recruitment of police. And Mheshimiwa, lastly, when I wind up with you, somebody is telling me that I did not ask you to respond to what Ken brought up, the issue of Jeshila. These politicians are the ones who have enabled these criminal gangs.
Well, that's part of the scapegoating, isn't it?
Campaign period.
You know, gangs mirror society in our neighborhoods. They're not created by politicians or by some outside force. They're there. They're part of the community. So they mirror our community, and that's what we have in our neighborhoods. There may be some people, some politicians who are using gangs in their campaigns. But the reality is that, the youngsters are from the neighborhood. They're a reality. And we haven't dealt with the issue of the socioeconomic elements. We've just dealt with the police enforcement and criminal justice.
Yes.
Of course, then there is the social economic elements of creating opportunities for our young people, creating jobs, giving them training, and that's a lot of those things is what I'm doing in my constituency.
All right.
Yeah. Olive, I think we most of the people that are holding positions of leadership, starting from Waishimiwa, like the MP Kamukunji, any other person that is holding an office that is supposed to offer leadership. Mine is just to kindly tell them to always weigh their words before they unleash it to the public. Because you remember when President Mwai Kibaki came into office, there is something that he said, that we want to have a country that is zero from issues of corruption. And he actually told Wananchi that from today we will fight corruption even if it is my brother. We are going to fight. And the other day, the next day, hapa Tomboya hapa, Wananchi walishika police officer, wakamweka kwa mkokoteni, wakampeleka Central Police. Just for the other day, kuona the very senior people in government still getting involved in corruption and getting away with it. Now, we need to be people that are going to make sure that we fight the very same thing that we passionately address. The Inspector General of Police during his interview, and Mheshimiwa Yusuf and other Mheshimiwa actually interviewing Bwana Kome, there's something he said in Parliament, because he was asked about the issue of recruitment of police officers. Only for you to get a job that you are now doing today, how much did you pay? But you know how much it costs today to be a police officer in this country? It's run to a tune of 700,000 for you to be recruited to be a police officer. It's in public domain. And even Bwana Kome alluded to it the other day. So it becomes so very expensive because most of the people that are getting into a police service are not getting outside there to offer service. Because Mheshimiwa said that police should no longer be a force. We have national police service. It should be service. Now, what they are offering outside there is not service. Okay. But we are not here even to condemn police, because one time a police spokesperson, former police person...
Can you forgive me
for
cutting you short? Because it was 2 minutes. I think it's overrun. In fact, now I have to give the two gentlemen a minute each, because I am accountable to somebody in my ear.
Last one. It's
yes.
just a quick one.
30 seconds.
The former police spokesperson, Charles Owino, admitted that we cannot run our society without the service of the police. And if at all we try to walk that route, let's today allow police to stay just 1 hour without their service, then we see how our society is going to be. Let's recruit patriots who want to do a police job, offer service to the citizens. Otherwise, those that are going to get in the service because they bought the job are going to continue doing the kind of things that we are seeing outside there.
All right. A minute, please.
Thank you, Oliver. I'll take a minute. The security issue in this country is a collective issue. It is not only the police. Sometimes we condemn the police, but also we have to play a role. We are in that equation. There's what the past, I think, 2 regimes did. There were police reservists. Business people like myself and other people were given those roles to make sure that where they are in their businesses, it is safe. They give information. Some of them are even trained to own guns and and to provide security even for their different areas. What we must do is a collective responsibility. Let's have a paradigm shift. We must be able to think differently. We must be able to recalibrate our minds. We must be able, even the people who are being trained to be police persons, they give services. Let them be trained to, number one, to respect human life, and number 2, to also give us services from a very humanistic platform, whereby they are able to give those services without victimizing people. Right now, it's like a jungle rule. They must be able to know who are they going to deal with. Then they have to collaborate with the judiciary, because if you kill a person on the ground, then there's no work for the judiciary. It is a collective responsibility, and each and every agency has a role to play.
Okay.
To crown it all, let us make sure that human beings are well protected.
All right. And we wind it up with you, Mwaniki. You have the last minute.
Our people are really looking at us, whatever we are doing. And the whole community is looking forward to doing their businesses in a conducive atmosphere where they can work without the criminals, the disturbance from the police. So it's a collaborative initiative whereby we need to come together as a people and as a business people in town, whereby we can accommodate each and every person. So we are going to take particular measures. The society has to agree with the measures we are going to take. And I can assure people that CBD will be a place where they can be comfortable doing their businesses. Let them come back to the CBD. The abandoned spaces should be occupied so that we can do businesses together. We can bring money to the county, and we are doing all we can to make sure that the city is safe for businesses. And as a leader, I want to congratulate the governor for working with all stakeholders, and we are doing all we can. We can assure our people that things will be okay in few days that are coming. Thank you for your time, NTV. Maybe you can give us enough time later where we can discuss these issues at a length position. Thank you for the day. Thank you. I wish Kenya all the best, and the people of Nairobi all the best as they do their businesses. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mwaniki Kwenya. I think I summed it up beautifully, and we will create another opportunity because, as Mheshimiwa, your fellow Mheshimiwa pointed out, really haven't gotten into the socioeconomics of the entire situation, and also these guns. I think we made mention of some of these guns being hired from police, but these guns that the Inspector General of Police said people had approached the governor, asking the governor to give them time to hand them over to police. Where are they coming from, right? So there's still questions that have been left unanswered. We can only cover so much in about, I think we've done an hour and a half with breaks in between. We have tried, but allow me to thank Mheshimiwa for MP for Kamkunji Yusuf Hassan. First time at NTV. I hope it was a good experience for him. We've also been joined by Sami Karanja, who is the CEO, MSME Association of Kenya. We've also had Kennedy Onyango, who is the SG, Boda Boda Association of Kenya, and I think Mwaniki Kwenya, MCA, Nairobi Central, summed it up beautifully. And until the security situation in the capital is sorted out, this is how I will be walking in town with my handbag. As you can see on my screen there, I'm going to take my cue from her. And you are not snatching my bag. No, you are not. Anyway, until we leave the conversation there, but I hand you over to Winnie Lubende. Winnie, perhaps you can tell us if this is how you are walking, where you are.
All right, Olive, I know that conversation cannot, stop. But of course, we're here today at this beautiful Mevida Homes right here at a Garden City. And I'm pretty sure you can see what is happening behind me and even all around the room. It's a beautiful, beautiful housing that, of course, we'll be talking about today on the show. And that is as far as affordable housing is concerned, because we all know how the Kenya's population is growing. And that means the demand for housing is higher, but of course the question is we also need affordable housing at that. So of course we'll be telling you the ins and outs as far as affordable housing is concerned, and also show you what unit we are in and why you need to have it. So that is coming up very shortly on Your World.
Tuko pamoja maishani.